Hey guys, it's Welps, and welcome to my Spear Dagger, aka Shadowdancer guide. I'm gonna go through both PvP and PvE gears and skills in this video. I've been playing Spear Dagger since the release of Spear, so pretty much about 2 weeks. I know it might seem kinda late, but I wanted to be more confident on my final build before sharing it with you guys. Anyway, I'll get right into it. We'll go through the gears first. This is my questlog page for Spear builds. I'll have the link in the description. There are two main builds that I want to share. This is for PvP, the range magic evasion build and the melee range evasion build. The range magic evasion build is what I'm focusing on currently. And generally, if you're playing large-scale PvPs, range magic evasion is recommended. And if you enjoy more small-scale PvP, then melee range evasion build is recommended. So Spear Dagger, they played a similar role as GS Dagger. They are melee assassins where they go into the enemy backline and kill their range DPS. And because of the AoE capability of Spear with the Javelin, you need to survive in the enemy backline. For you to do that, you need to min-max your evasion. So that's what we are doing here. For our range magic evasion, we are basically equipping all leather pieces. We get damage from 2 harvester set. These 2 phantom pieces are great. They give the stats that we need, plus the evasions. We're using Tapestry for the magic and range evasion, Sorodoma for range evasion, and Quicksilver for magic evasion. And so we are reaching 70 dex to get the extra evasion, and also 60 strength for the extra HP without putting more than 20 stats. So we have really good stat distribution here, thanks to the Rex daggers. This gives 12 dex. That's why I think this is the best dagger. And also this is free. You just gotta run tier 1 dungeons and craft your salvation. So many people question me like, isn't Kawazan the best dagger? And I say no to that because the only thing that Kawazan provides is an extra crit. So I have a page with a Kawazan dagger. So because you have less stats, you can't get 60 strength. And that is close to like 1k HP difference. And we already have high crit just from having 70 dex. So this is 1.2. I think that's already high enough. Kawazan is 1.4. And if you add the weapon passive on top, it becomes higher. But the weapon damage of the dagger is not important at all. We're only going to be using spear skills. So only spear damage matters. And yeah, the crit, I think we have enough. I'd rather have more HP. But if you want more crit, you can use Kawazan. So if you look at the base damage of Spear here is 472. This one will be 487. So this is going to give us 1.5k range evasion and almost 1.6k magic evasion. This is without runes. This is probably the highest evasion setup. And we pretty much get extra 700 on top of that from Shadow Walker. And that is also why I think Spear Dagger is the best weapon combination, at least for large scale. And when the spear change comes into global, we are getting 420 range evasion from Nimble Step. So our evasion is going to be so high. That is why I have gone with HP runes instead of more evasion. And that will give us 18k max HP. And just to show you what it looks like in the simulator, once we proc our Shadow Walker, we'll get 2.2k range evasion. And I believe the average range hit chance is about 1200. That gives us about 50% dodge rate. If they were to pop a Victorious Energy, our dodge rate will be about 36%. But once the Nimble Step gets buffed, it's gonna be like this. And even with Victorious Energy popped, we'll have about 50% dodge rate. And let's say if someone was playing a high hit build, we'll make this like 1800. We have like 46% chance of dodging. Oh, and that's when we are holding spears. Like when we're holding a dagger, it's an extra 100 evasion as well. You might also be wondering why such a low hit chance. Like I get asked this a lot as well. Isn't that bad? No, it's not. We basically don't need any hit chance at all. Well, not at all. The minimum hit chance we need is about like 600-700. Because our main priority, our main targets are the range DPS, the bow dagger, staff dagger, the bow staff, crossbow daggers. And majority of them, probably like 80 to 90% of them are range magic evasion players. So if the target doesn't have a melee evasion, we don't need a melee hit chance. The reason for the minimum 600-700 is because they're gonna have an evasion from dex, let's say about 100. Star players gonna be using Victorious Energy, giving them 460 evasion. So that's like 560. So we gotta be higher than that to hit them. Crossbow players can proc a crossbow passive to increase the evasion by like 400. So this is a good number. If you try to build a hit with Spear Dagger, you gotta lose everything. The crit, the damage, the HP, the evasion, everything. And if you don't have Band of Universal Power and Belt of Bloodlust, you can use anything that gets you to 50 strength and 70 dex. This is my current gear. I'm using Forbidden Eternal Chain and Band of Chosen One because I sort of already had this ring. I'm moving on to melee range evasion set. I'm not gonna go through every piece, just gonna show you the stats. So without any runes, this will give you 1.9k melee evasion and 1.4k range evasion. Again, when the Nimble Step buff comes in, we're gonna get more evasion on range. So just with the Shadow Walker, this is gonna be 2k, and after buff, it'll be like 2.4k. And once we put all the runes in health, HP is gonna be 17k. This will be very strong build as well, especially in Arena. There are other builds in this page that I theory crafted. You can browse through yourself. I'll also put together a PvE build, but you're not really gonna be building a full PvE set for this build. Just use it as a reference. I am currently using 2 sets, so both melee range evasion build and range magic evasion build. So this is what I'm using for PvE. 2 general set and 2 harvester. And a phantom chest. I'm gonna show you my rotation for boss DPS. First of all, you're gonna be holding spear on your hand, because not only the range is convenient, the auto attack DPS is actually higher than Dagger. This is my spear 1 minute auto attack DPS with poison, and this is my Dagger 1 minute DPS with poison. So spear did about 25k more damage. Also, your main DPS skills are from spear, and if you played Spear Dagger, you know that you're very hungry on mana, and this mana cost efficiency is gonna help you. And you know, just you want high uptime on these passives like max damage and crit, mana cost efficiency and everything. And as for my skill build, I have tried pretty much everything that I could. You know, full burst build, half ignite, half burst. And this build gave me the highest DPS. It was also most consistent, and the rotation itself was the easiest. To quickly show you my skill tree, I'm using full ignite build. Here's my skills and passive. I usually just have the assassin step for the trash runs. If you want to min-max the boss DPS, when you get to the boss, you can switch it out with the Fang. Here's my current spear mastery. I went with the bottom line mainly due to the utilities. The mana cost efficiency, attack speed, CDR. You also got like max damage, crit. You might do more damage taking the middle path with ignite damage and skill damage boost 50. You also got like max damage. But I don't know, I find more value on these ones. But eventually I'm gonna have both lines maxed up anyway. So yeah, just choose whichever. I don't think it's a big deal. And this is my current Dagger masteries. Okay, so here's my rotation. My opener is gonna be starting with buffs. Poison, Umbral, Sentinel. Then Feral Stigma. Feral Stigma has like no animation, no delays, it's instant cast. So you wanna mix it in within between your rotation and just use it every time it's off cooldown. And then we use Phoenix Barrage. That's going to give us high ignite stack plus the 15% crit damage buff for 3 seconds. So we use Slaughtering Slash, which is going to consume that ignite stack on the first attack, and plus 15% crit damage for the big burst damage. And the reason for the Slaughtering Slash instead of the normal Rising Slash, even though it's costing 7 points when doing the same damage, is because of the animation. When you're using Rising Slash, you have to cast it twice, and there's like delay in between those casts. So it's going to be a DPS loss. So after the slash, you go 5 Explosive Fury, and then 2 Flaming Arc. and then you go into Brutal Incision. And if you had the poison activated, make sure you use it again. So that's pretty much the opener rotation, with your Javelin being the filler when everything's on cooldown. You also use this when you have to move away from the boss, so minimizing that DPS loss. So that's your main filler, and then if that's not available, your last filler is your Moonlight. From then on, it's basically whatever comes off cooldown. So in normal speed, it's gonna look like this. So yeah, that's my opening rotation. Everything goes on cooldown. But in parties, you're gonna have like deadly markers. Your CDI is gonna be so high, and you just prioritize your spear rotations. And these two almost come up at the same time, so you try to pair barrage into slash. But don't really hold any cooldown. Use anything that comes off cooldown. And this is what makes Ignite build better than Burst build, in my opinion, is because you don't have to manage a burst stack. You don't have to manage anything. With Burst build, it's like high risk, high return, but the risk is not worth it. There's no risk in this build. You'll be consistently pumping high DPS, just pressing abilities off cooldown. The only thing that's holding your DPS back is the mana. The skills that eat your mana the most is Explosive Fury and Javelin Inferno, because this mana cost is per cast. So you basically use this 5 times, so it's 119 times 5 and it's 147 times 5. But this mana issue is easily fixed by a healer. Most healers use Fountain of Life with this mana recovery specialization on it, so you get 40 mana per tick if you stand on it. You must stand on this fountain. When you're doing like normal dungeons, everyone's quite geared, so they don't really take damage, so healer doesn't even use Fountain, so you don't get the mana. But it's kind of whatever because you kill the boss fast anyway. But if you're doing like a trial dungeon where the fight lasts a little bit longer, and if the healer uses Fountain on cooldown, you have no mana problem at all. And it doesn't really pressure the healer's mana as well, so just tell your healer or ask your healer to keep using the Fountain. If your healer is a Ball Wand, it's even better because they'll be also using Nature's Blessing on cooldown, which gives mana regen. You have infinite mana. My mana doesn't go below like 50% if I have Ball Wand healer on trials. So yeah, ask your healer to put down a Fountain and they'll do it. It doesn't like trigger them or anything. They usually don't put down Fountain because no one's taking any damage. If you tell them I need Fountain for mana, and they will put it down. You don't need to fully trade your gear with mana regen. I only have this bracer with 60 mana regen, and I don't have any mana problem at all if the healer just puts down a Fountain and you stand on it. And make sure you're also using a Dagger block, so when you block a Fury attack, you get mana back. As for my PvP build, I have many different builds depending on the size of the fights, you know, like Arena, GVG, Open World PvP, in just different situations I swap skills, but pretty much these are staples. So I use the Sentinel mainly for the shield as defensive, and when I engage on target, I'll be using Shadow Strike and I take the max range on it. So my opener is Shadow Strike into Ankle Strike into Phoenix Barrage. That's my initial opener burst. And then I do Explosive Fury. And then if they run away, create distance, I do throw javelins. And then gap close with Rising Slash. And then I use Flaming Arc. And that's pretty much all of my cooldown. These empty slots, if I feel like I'm lacking damage, I put Stigma. And when you're taking the Stigma, you have to take the range spec. It's really good damage. You can use it at the start of the combo. It also has 80% healing reduction. Sometimes I like to use Tempest Strike. I mainly use this to counter stealth. So I take the Directional Tempest and Lasting Storm. Oh, that's why I like Tempest. It's counter stealth. For this slot, I use either Death from Above or Meme from Above, or a Wreath Havoc as another gap closer. Death from Above is pretty much for fun or for like large scale. You know, it's so unreliable. But this one's much more reliable because you charge to the target. Once you take this Wreath Havoc specialization, you can also make this Wrath attack. So whenever I see like people ganking up on like SNS player, I use this because you know, it'll prevent them from using block. And if they were already holding block, this is a Wrath attack, so it'll stun them. And whenever you're doing large scale like siege or like conflict boss, I try my best to get 5 Amber stacks and then pop my Lightning Infusion and Thunder Spirit to increase my AoE damage with the Javelin. Oh my god. For your open world AoE dungeon farming, it's pretty much the same as like your large scale. You use Explosive Fury, get Amber stacks, pop your Lightning Infusion, Thunder Spirit, throw your Javelin, and it'll pretty much just wipe the pack. And then you use like Barrage, Arc, Slash to finish them off. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. GG's. Take care. Peace.